Okay, good morning, everyone. I seem to be getting myself talking in circles this morning, so this is actually take number 4. It's Monday, it's June 9th. It's a beautiful sunny day out already. I've been trying this morning to figure out when I want to transition us from the community cast into a summer series. Now, of course, those of you that have been following the videos right along, we started in March when my area, the state, my state went into isolation, we called it the pause, for the COVID pandemic. I started it on the very day I got the call that we were officially closed at school. So we went from a spring that just didn't want to come to beautiful sunny days, and it's really making me want to make a transition over into the summer series. Part of that's mental health, part of that's because I have ideas for the summer series, and I'm kind of feeling a little, a little frustrated with trying to come up with things for this particular part of the series while I have ideas for the next series. So what are my ideas for the next series? I want to stick to theme days for the summer series. I'm going to keep Millinery Monday. I'm going to do something along the lines of a Whimsy Wednesday. I want to do a day where I talk about and highlight other merchants, makers out there that I think are awesome. And then I want to squeeze in some projects. And I'm thinking the projects, I want them to be a little bit bigger than what we were doing. But at the same time, I'm realizing people might want to do techniques. I'm not sure what the needs and wants are for folks this summer. I do know the vast majority of events for a lot of people have been canceled for most of the summer. So I want to give us some opportunity to really get the feel of doing, or get some feel of doing history activities while not being able to participate in the groups that we're used to. I toyed with the idea of just doing Monday through Friday, but then that canceled event aspect makes me think folks really might want to have something on the weekends. So that's a piece I need some feedback for. The other part is the timing of the transition. Initially, I wanted to wait until equinox to make the transition, but that's still 2 weeks out, and I'm getting a bit antsy. I'm thinking about using the 15th as the transition day. It was March 15th when I started this, I believe. June 15th is officially the last day of classes. It really would have been the last day, second to last day, before we got really going on Regents exams. So I'm kind of thinking we might finish up the community cast this week and transition into summer series this next week. So feedback on that as well, okay, folks? Let me know what you're thinking, what you'd like to hear, how you feel about switching from one to the other. It will mean that there's going to be some different naming and numbering. So I might just call it summer series, Monday whatever, Tuesday whatever, rather than this counting of days. Okay, so let's get back to Millinery Monday, because it's Monday, and we talk about millinery on Mondays. Alright, so I was looking for something in the old millinery stash closet, because, we have a millinery room and a millinery stash closet. I have a lot of stuff in terms of millinery. And in that closet, I have the totes of some of the millinery pieces I don't actively wear anymore because there's been a learning curve. And I grabbed one of those because it is full of straw pieces. And I thought it would be neat to kind of talk about some of these. Now, warning, these go back at least 15 years, maybe a little longer, okay? When I first started playing with straw, I did what a lot of us were doing at the time. Okay, a few of us were doing at the time. I grabbed a craft hat, and that's what this bonnet was made out of. So this one's from the early to mid 2000s. Okay, so let's see. I started at the school in 2002. This might be 2003, 4, 5, somewhere in there. Okay. This was definitely made out of craft straw. And let's just give you a comparison here. This is the straw, the wider straw that I currently use. And you can see the difference in the width there. And there's also a thickness difference, okay? The straw braid's almost as thick as some of the narrower straws that I use. Okay? And so what I had done is I had unpicked that hat back to this point, and you can still see some of the machine stitching here. And then I re-sewed the strips into this shape. Shape-wise, it does have the tip and the crown and a transition up to the brim. The cheek tabs are very short. They're also square. Hope you can see. I did do a binding piece, but I was doing a whole folded binding piece in the beginning. So the shape isn't awful, but it isn't there. I did line it. I used an antique silk ribbon, okay? I did not line that, so I don't know if you can see this, the light. There's a lot of sweat discoloration on that curtain and on the ties. The net for lining that would have done some protection. You can see exactly where this used to sit at my neck. The curtain itself is squished because it's been in storage so long. I really should take the silk ribbon off and see if I can clean it, but it is one of my first bonnets, so I have such mixed thoughts on that. Oh, and I did this thing way back when where I would put the ribbon ends at a point and stitch that down. I did that rather than cut it, which is a plus. Alright, so let's switch over here. Oh, at the point of making that piece, I had made a couple buckram pieces as well. Those are in buckram pieces. Wow, they're in another box. Okay, so then this piece is one of those hemp straw pieces. Alright, and this was actually a pattern that Kim Lynch was working on early on. So she sent this to me to see what I thought of it. And this is the version that's sewn flat on tissue paper. And you can actually see there's still remnants of the tissue paper inside of this. And I put a lot of sizing on this sucker. So this is all made from the front to the back, flat, and then this last part is added. You can see there's like a seam overlap here. No, honey. Not right now. So the shape of this is really pretty decent. This was early on, so we don't quite have the cheek tabs with the curve. It's more of a triangular bit there. I did not line this one. The facing is a gathered vintage organdy. I did do the bevelé on the bias. I did attach it to the outside. I did not line it so it gets flumpy. I did remember to attach it to the cheek tabs. These ties are from fabric, and then I've got a grosgrain ribbon here. So the shape was definitely improving. Again, at this point, nothing is done on an original block. Oh, this first bonnet back here, notice there was no wiring on this. I am noticing I did stick a wire in here. I'm actually amused by that because this wire that's set just back beyond the gathering is actually pretty close to where later on started realizing is where stays live. Okay, so I'll put this over here. Another interesting thing I want to do is compare this one to this one. So, not too far off in shape. There's a difference in weight. So this was actually made while I was in New Mexico. All right. So I knew some stuff then, except I was in New Mexico. And what had happened is we got an invite to an event at Fort Stanton. And I had, I think it was 3 days, to make an entire dress and a bonnet. I actually did it. And here's the fun catch. It had to be all with material that I either had on hand, and I did not have a stash of fabrics in New Mexico, or made from stuff I could find around town. Now, there's no Joann's. The stores there were Walmart, had fabric. There was a bead store, awesome bead store, and then a quilt shop that didn't even acknowledge reproduction fabrics. They loved batiks and some other things that I don't even know what they are. They did have wool, a little bit of wool for penny rugs, rug hooking. No one ever bought them. I'm the only one that bought them. I made bears out of them. So I literally made a dress from Walmart fabric, and I picked up a hat. I don't remember if this was from, yeah, this had to have been from Walmart. And all of the trims were from Walmart. The silk I had left from the little bag that's back here. Okay, so the shape's a doozy. I did improve the cheek tabs a little bit. I did line it. Once again, the curtain's not lined. There was definitely no net going on down there. I actually do like the flowers. There are some heavy sections of overlapped braid back here. Because again, this is from a craft hat. It does look like I unpicked the whole thing, which was good. Very good. There was some transitional learning in this. It wears okay. I have my hair wrong. I do have silk ribbon for the ties. This might have been when I started ordering from the ribbon store. Oh, I would have had this on hand from working on the Fanciful Utility materials. For those of you that don't know, most of Fanciful Utility was written while I was in New Mexico. So that's that one. It's been worn twice. It was worn in twice? Yeah, it was worn in New Mexico. And then when we very first got back here to New York. Put these guys back down in there. So that's some of my early pieces. And there's definitely a transition from those into now. Because of course I'm working with original millinery blocks now, antique millinery blocks. Change the braid that I'm using. Alright, so this is a somewhat more current piece. This is actually probably 5 years old at this point. I do have to get a new steamer at some point. because my curtains get squished in the boxes. Depending on which bonnet it is, I either lay them down or lay them on their face. So this is one of the soft crowns. Not balancing on my hand very well. Let's go like that. So at this point, we have much narrower straw plate. Okay. Everything is fully wired. The cheek tabs have a very curved transition from the brim. They are much narrower. So if you imagine this without the zigzag plate on the front, this is literally like 2 fingers wide. I can go narrower. Most people don't like it when I go narrower. They are longer cheek tabs. The inside's lined. There's going to be a facing and a frill. Did I say wired? Alright, so the ties, most of my ties are either going to be silk or the cotton sateen. Oh, this is one of those German moire ribbons. These come from the ribbon store. I love velvet flowers. Personally, I love those. So it's been a bit of a transition. I am wondering what this would do on its face. No, I don't want to try that. You'll notice sometimes I put the ribbons inside the bonnet and sometimes I roll them around tissue. So there's my transition story of learning curve. Time-wise, we are talking somewhere between 15 and 20 years. I wish I could remember the actual years where I made some of the earlier bonnets. I do know when I made my morning bonnet, obviously. And I would have made the sheer white one a couple years prior, and I would have made the gold one. Oh, the gold one was made from the same silk that I used for my brother's, the dress for my brother's wedding. So I think that was 2005. I don't know. Really should figure that out one of these days. So yeah, I just wanted to share my learning curve. There's definitely been a learning curve, and of course I'm still learning. I'm amazed by, once I got to like the narrower straw and learned how it behaved, it does things that the thicker straw doesn't. When you move it in one direction, it'll push in another direction further up and further down the bonnet, and that really does create some of the curves that pieces have. And you can see when you change this spot, it pushes a change in that spot, and it really kind of makes sense of some of the shape progressions that you see. And I don't think I would have ever discovered those if I worked just with buckram. As you can know, I don't use buckram anymore. I've lost complete interest in that. It's about the straw, and it's about the natural straw. I have a ridiculous amount of early 20th century straws and other little straws. At one point I was like, oh, I'll make a whole line of doll pieces. And I just haven't. At some point I have to decide what I'm going to do with some of that straw. I'm realizing right now might be a good time to move some of that along to other folks, because there is such a shortage. I have to think on that one. So I guess that's it for today. Tomorrow is tomorrow, and I still don't know what I'm going to talk about. Give me the feedback on the transition to the summer series. Enjoy your Monday, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye, all.